Hello, I'm Michael Collins, this is Media Focus, and today we are going to be looking at the video to Riptide, and we are going to be applying this concept of intertextuality to it. Now, intertextuality is one of these terms which sounds quite complicated, but like many terms in media studies, it's actually rather straightforward. At its most basic level, intertextuality is where one media product makes reference to another media product. So if we think about so we've got intercity, interrail. It is going from one media product to another product, between one media product and another media product. Now, intertextuality is extremely common and popular in comedy media products. For example, the TV sitcom The Simpsons will make constant intertextual references to other films and TV shows, and generally it does this for the purpose of comedy. It's funny to see characters from The Simpsons, for example, doing something from another film. And so, yeah, we often do see this in things like comedy shows. And in many cases, intertextuality can be fairly explicit. So we'll see something and we will know that that is from something else. And this is sometimes referred to as parody or pastiche. So, for example, the Scary Movie series makes consistent and constant intertextual reference to other horror films. And again, this is for the purpose of comedy and making the audience laugh and taking the mickey out of other horror films. However, there are many different forms of intertextuality. So, intertextuality can be hard, it can be explicit, or it can be soft. We can see in Riptide many examples of what I refer to as soft intertextuality, or kind of vague references to other films. So, having watched the video to Riptide many times, I can see lots of vague reference to older films, in particular horror films, but nothing absolutely explicit. This video isn't a parody, it isn't a pastiche, but it does make more sense if the audience is more aware of other intertextual references. Now, why is it then that this video makes such heavy use of intertextuality? Well, there's a number of reasons. One, the video has more hidden and symbolic depth as it is making reference to other things. So by making reference to sexually explicit and violent horror films, the video is actually making some pretty powerful points about the way in which women are often represented in horror films. It also provides a gratification for what we call the cineliterate audience of this video, that they will see references to films they already like, and even if they don't actually like Australian indie pop music, they will check out this video and they will appreciate the different references that it's making. So ultimately, it's a marketing technique. And that's definitely how this video hooked me, because I've got to say, I'm not a massive fan of the song, although I do very much appreciate the level of intertextuality that the video goes for. So, as I said, there's no explicit or hard intertextuality in this video, but in my opinion, it does make reference to at least 3 classic films in a vague kind of way. So the films I'm going to be talking about in this video today are, first of all, Suspiria, which is an Italian horror film directed by Dario Argento and released in 1977. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is an American horror film and was directed by Tobe Hooper and was released in 1974. And Un Chien Andalou, which is a French surrealist short film, was directed by Louis Buñuel and Salvador Dali and was first released in 1929. And by making reference to many other media products, the video to Riptide can say more about the representation of women and can construct a much more in-depth and meaningful system of narratives for its cineliterate audience. So, first of all, let's talk about Suspiria. In this 1977 film, a young woman, Jessica Harper, travels to Germany in order to go to a ballet school. Very quickly after she arrives, she realizes that something's not quite right. Huge spoilers here, although the film basically spoils itself within the first few seconds. The ballet school has been taken over by witches. She is tormented, she is chased through the corridors, maggots fall from the ceiling, there is blood, there is mystery, and generally lots and lots of cool things happen. Suspiria is probably the best horror film that's ever been made. It is absolutely, completely deranged. It makes absolutely no sense. There is no sense of suspense or anything like that. It feels like it's completely ripped from somebody's nightmare. It makes excellent use of lighting, in particular red and blue lighting, and it has an absolutely incredible hard rock soundtrack, which really drives the extremely thin narrative forwards. When the film ends, you feel absolutely exhausted, like you've just watched something which you probably weren't supposed to watch. And I absolutely would recommend checking it out to each and every media student. So, what are some references to Suspiria in the video to Riptide? Well, again, there's nothing particularly explicit, but we see many props within the video to Riptide, for example, knives, a noose, a gloved hand, barbed wire, and things like that. We also see a weak and vulnerable female protagonist, this damsel in distress, this very stereotypical female character archetype. Now, this is not something which Suspiria is unique in. In fact, it is very much a generic convention of a horror film in general. But we see weak and vulnerable women being chased by some aggressive male threat. The colour scheme is different in Riptide, but it is very similar. We have these vibrant primary colours, we have red and blue filters, and the whole video to Riptide is very reminiscent of 1970s European horror films in particular. We have this violent male antagonist in both of them. We have lots of iconographic features. For example, in both Suspiria and Riptide, we have very, very red blood or red lipstick. It's actually unclear if there is any blood in Riptide, although there is a very short scene with the woman in the master shot clutching her neck with a small amount of red blood or lipstick or makeup or paint, who knows, coming out of her hand. And we also have this 1970s retro fashion, obviously contemporary in the video to Suspiria, but in Riptide we see people dressed up in a very 1970s style. The video to Riptide makes consistent reference to the horror genre, and another film that it kind of vaguely references is the 1974 film The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is a classic and was one of the very first video nasties in the UK. It was briefly banned. There was a huge moral panic about this film, and it features a young woman being terrorized by a predominantly masculine threat in backwoods America as she is tormented by a bunch of maniacs, basically. So again, there's no real explicit reference to this film. This is just an example of a horror film. But some of the scenes of torment and torture, in particular the shot of the woman escaping her ropes, very reminiscent of 1970s horror. So the video to Riptide makes explicit reference to horror films and the horror genre, and it is very what we call contrapuntal. It doesn't really fit with the song at all, which is a jangly indie pop song that you might expect to hear at an indie club night. So what it is trying to do is, again, I keep saying this, position the audience in an uncomfortable mode of address where they don't absolutely know what's going on. And this then allows the audience the opportunity to share the video with other people and to try and question the deeper meaning. And another genre that it makes reference to beyond the horror genre is the surrealist genre. So one film that it may make reference to is an early film from 1929 directed by the Spanish director Luis Buñuel, co-directed by the Spanish artist Salvador Dali. And this film is Un Chien Andalou, or in English, An Andalusian Dog. And this 20-minute odd film takes us through this disjointed dream sequence, which jumps backwards and forwards, not only in terms of its narrative, but also in terms of time as well. And once more, we see lots of the same themes in this film that we do in Riptide. Not just the disjointed narrative, but also we see elements of sexual threat and violence as well. So why is it that Riptide is making reference to so many other films? Well, once more, just to go back to the start of this video, it is confusing for the audience, which is always a plus because then it invites the audience to watch the video over and over again. It is highly polysemic. Many audience members who watch this video will not care about what films it's referencing. They'll just think, hey, this is a cool video. I really enjoy this. Let's share it with my friends. However, other people, for example, nerds and or media studies teachers, will really, really enjoy the different references to other films. And that's something that they can get out of it, even though they might not actually like the song in the first place. So intertextuality allows the video to Riptide to target new audiences that the song wouldn't normally have targeted.